Hi everyone, it's Natalie from Circuit Recruitment here and welcome to another episode of Landing a Job 101. In this series, I share one tip per video, taking you slowly through the whole process involved with landing yourself a new role. And in my previous video, I talked about quantifying your resume, which is something that people know they should probably be doing, but don't always really know how to go about it. But in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my top general interviewing tips. Chances are, if you've worked with me before or interviewed with a client of mine, I've already talked you through these tips and tricks over the phone when briefing you on how to prepare for an upcoming interview. But I figured, why not make it a video so that just about anybody with an upcoming interview will be able to implement these general tips and tricks. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here are my top 4 general tips that I give to anybody who is about to sit any kind of interview. Firstly, I'd like to get really specific when it comes to interview prep. Now, nobody ever really truly knows what's going to be asked of them in an interview situation, but ChatGPT or Claude or any other AI assistant should be able to help you when it comes to preparing for specific questions you might get asked. Of course, there's going to also be general and generic behavioral questions that you might have to be prepared to answer, but as for some of the specific questions around the job that you're going for, my tip is just to copy and paste the general job description into your AI assistant, whichever one that you're using, and ask it to generate some potential interview questions that you might get asked. That way you can prepare on a more specific level with some relevant examples. So make sure you have a really good think about some of the responses that you would give to those questions that might come up. I think that this is where a lot of people go wrong, is that they think, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing, or yeah, I know how to explain that term. But then when they get into a high pressure interview situation, they actually can't articulate it very well. And unfortunately, you can know all the answers in the world, but if you can't articulate properly and engagingly, you've lost the battle. I know that it's really unfair, but that is the game, and the only way to win the game is if you come prepared. So my next tip is one that you've also probably heard of before, and it's a really important reminder to just slow down. Even if you think you're speaking slowly in the moment, slow down even more. It cannot hurt. Having really good pace control helps you in a lot of ways. It helps you to sort through your thoughts really clearly. It also stops you from stumbling on your words too often. And it also helps you come across as really calm, articulate, and intelligent. And there's literally no rush, so just slow down. Which also leads me into my next tip. It will help you slow down quite a bit, which is to have a piece of paper and a pen next to you. And if you get asked a question that is multifaceted and you have a large answer that you need to make sure you're articulating properly, just ask the interviewer before you get stuck into the answer, hey, can I have 10 to 30 seconds just to think on my answer and write it out a little bit? Because I want to make sure that I don't forget anything. Now, this gives you the space and the freedom to really take your time and not have to speed through it too much. It also makes sure that you're less nervous, and the interviewer will really usually appreciate the fact that you're taking the time to think the answer through properly. Now, my final tip is how to answer questions when you actually don't know the answer or you don't have any commercial experience in what they're asking of you. A lot of people are taught in this kind of situation to say things like, I don't know, but let me get back to you. Now, I do agree that being honest about not knowing is super important, but I think an answer like that really lacks impact because it doesn't show as much initiative as you think it does. Saying that you'll get back to them with an updated answer really just tells them that you can't get creative enough in the moment to answer the question in any way, shape, or form. And to be completely honest, most people do not get the opportunity to actually go back to the interviewer and follow up the way that they say that they will. And so this answer all up just falls pretty flat to me. So if you do end up in a situation where you get asked a question like this where you don't have the relevant experience, it's definitely okay to admit that you don't, but you do have to still try and answer the question anyway. For example, if someone asked me how me as a non-technical person goes about setting up CI/CD pipelines, and I've obviously never done that before, I'd say something along the lines of, look, to be honest, I don't have any experience in that space. However, based on my knowledge of DevOps and CI/CD pipelines, I'd probably go about it by using GitLab to perform this task by doing XYZ. Do you see the difference there? In that example I provided you, I've actually still managed to answer their question even though I haven't got commercial experience in that space. And I've been able to show initiative, that I can think on my feet, which is something that's really impressive to an interviewer. It's a real skill. You won't be able to nail it every time, but if you're struggling, feel free to say to them, do you mind if I just have a little bit of a think through about how I want to answer this question? Write down some notes on your little notepad there and then give it your best shot. Landing a new job is never easy, but if you follow these tips and tricks to help you prepare to nail the interview, you're going to increase your chances of being able to land the right role for you. Let me know if you have any topics or questions that you have that you want me to try and cover off in one of these videos. You can view the rest of my videos in this series on my YouTube channel, which is linked in the video's description. But in the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.